I've got a lot of surprising skills, you know? Yep. Hey there, and welcome to Like and Describe. Each episode, we bring you little-known stories behind the biggest YouTube trends. I'm MatPat. And hey, look, it's that time again. You might have noticed your YouTube homepage filled with highlights and behind-the-scenes moments from your favorite athletes in Paris. You also might have seen some extra special celebrations for a few sports with a unique home here on YouTube. I'm talking about running, golf, wrestling, gymnastics, and table tennis. Now, most of these sports get little mainstream coverage, but creators are bringing them to life year-round. Today, we're speaking with some of the most skilled, innovative, and boundary-pushing creators within each of these sports. Together, they're pioneering a whole new kind of sports entertainment while bringing these individual sports center stage. I mean, have you ever seen someone knock out a Jenga piece with a ping pong ball? Or a golfer sink a 50-foot putt while blindfolded? Well, YouTube creators are turning these sports into extraordinary spectacles with insane trick shots, hilarious challenges, unexpected crossovers. At the same time, they're giving fans a peek behind the curtain and welcoming new fans in with relatable content. I'm really excited to be joined by these guests from each of these amazing communities who represent their sports. We have gymnastics insider Peng Lee, running aficionado Alexis Black, golf expert Grant Horvat, wrestling champion Caden Henschel, and table tennis master Emil Rantatakulia. You know what? Instead of me just making a complete embarrassment of myself, can we just bring in his voice?
Emil Rantatulkkila.
It is gonna be a wild ride, my friends. So let's get into it. So first off, a huge welcome to Caden, Alexis, Grant, Peng, and Emil. Thank you guys for being on today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Okay, so since there's so many of you in the room right now, I would love for you all to just introduce yourself to the camera, talk a little bit about the sport that you're probably most associated with, and maybe a favorite video that you've uploaded onto your channel.
Hi, I'm Emil, and I'm one of the three guys at Pongfinity. There's also Mika and Otto. And we do all kinds of stuff related to table tennis, so all kind of trick shots, challenges, and comedy stuff. One of my favorite videos that we have done is a video where we built a raft, put a table tennis table on the raft, and pushed it in the middle of a lake in Finland. And then we played the whole day in the middle of the lake.
Hi, my name is Peng. I was the 2012 Olympic team captain for the sport of gymnastics, and I was on the UCLA gymnastics team. One of my favorite videos on my channel, it's a series actually, it's called Behind the Bubble, and it's the vlog series that I did at UCLA. It was such a fun time.
I'm Grant Horvat, and I do golf content, so we've been doing that now for about 3 years. One of my favorite videos that I filmed is going to Pebble Beach for the first time. It's the #1 course in the world, and we kind of documented the entire process, and it was mind-blowing.
Hi, my name is Alexis Black, and I make running content here on YouTube. My favorite video on my channel is called Learning the Hard Way, Flying and Ultramarathon Training. And it's just about the beginning of my training block, preparing for my first ultramarathon and balancing my job, which is flying. I'm a flight attendant, with trying to build up enough endurance to be able to complete an ultramarathon.
My name is Caden Henschel. I create wrestling content here on YouTube. And back in my senior year of high school, it was the pinnacle for me to accomplish a high school wrestling state title. And it was the third day of the state series when I ended up winning. It was all these years of training leading to that moment and accomplishing that goal and getting it all documented. It's my favorite video.
Very cool. Let's start off with Peng and Emil here. Obviously, you both started posting videos a while ago at this point. I'd be curious to get your input on what did the sports scene on YouTube look like when you first started posting videos? Was there a lot of content out there about sports in general and about your specific sports? Or was it kind of, unfounded territory?
When I was posting on YouTube in my last year.
Back in my day.
It was kind of an untouched territory, but for me, it was more about vlogging, the behind the scenes of when we were traveling, and not necessarily like gymnastics content, but it was more for my memories and for my teammates' memories to just post vlogs. Luckily that year, it was amazing. We won a championship. And so it was so cool to have that memory of what it was like when we were getting ready and the parents coming in and the UCLA Bruin fans were like cheering us. But there was not a lot of people in NCAA in general, posting on YouTube. And it's changed a lot now.
How about you, Emil? What was it like for you when you first started?
Yeah, that's a good question because now when I think about it, 12 years ago, the sports sector wasn't really that big, and especially table tennis was a niche that there wasn't really made that many videos about. We kind of like also needed to create the niche in a way so that there's more and more people interested on YouTube in table tennis.
So what does the table tennis community look like on YouTube here in 2024?
There is much more content around table tennis, all kinds of like real matches and challenges. And if it's something funny and entertaining, people get inspired and start doing those kind of content.
So moving on to Alexis and Caden, one of the things that I'd love to hear from both of you about is not just the athletic side of your journey, but how you kind of have opened up your content to explore more of your personal journey, right? The vulnerabilities or the challenges that you face as you train to become an athlete.
I would say based off of me, there was really no one else doing it. No one really sharing their journey from the ground up. And I think that's what first made me be like, you know what? There needs to be someone creating something of the content that I personally wanted to watch. And I wanted to kind of be that beacon of light, to be like a big fan of my videos. And for me to do that, that gives me the accountability to work harder in my training, to, you know, do better in competitions. It's just kind of a cool way that works.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Alexis?
During the pandemic, I discovered this athletic side of myself. I had no idea I had an athletic bone in my body. And it started with cycling, and then I kind of got a little thought that maybe I would want to do a triathlon, but I couldn't swim or run, so I decided to start with running. And then I just became obsessed with running, and I wanted to share just that part of my journey. I wanted to slowly transition out of making flight attendant content to making the content that I'm making now.
One of the things that's interesting, and I'd love anyone's perspective on this, is that the group that we have represented here all represent individual sports. In a lot of cases. I'm curious, what do you think it is about those sports in particular that have made them so fitting for YouTube, or kind of like why videos about them are so appealing on the platform?
I think it's because of the internal drive. Of course, like team sports are great and everything, but for one person, I think to really just everything is up to them. Their desires, what they want to accomplish. There's not necessarily a roadmap for each individual person. And of course, with an individual sport, all the blame is on you. You can have the coaches, you can have the partners, but at the end of the day, you're the one who has to, put the foot on the line.
When you're in the gymnastics world and when the coach is, coming at you and you're with your teammates, you feel like you're taking all the heat, and we're in a sport of judging. So it's really cool when you're able to put on your journey and really share your journey, because they can kind of see that it's not just all medals and not just all pretty leotards. It's like there's a lot that goes into it and a lot of struggle. You fall every single day in the gym, but some people just see, the best of the best, and they see that they do great and there's no struggle.
For golf, yeah, it's always been just, you're the only one to blame. It's just you out there against the course. And what's crazy with the YouTube side of golf is like the productions also increased a ton. So it's gone from, one camera angle holding it to now like a whole production crew. And it's like the tracers where it's showing the golf ball, the graphics. There's a lot that goes into that side as well. But at the end of the day, it's you versus the golf course. There's no one else to blame.
Yeah. And I also think that in these sports, it's sort of like easier to also like focus on the personalities on the channel, because if there's only 1 or 2 or 3 people, it's much less than, let's say 10 persons if it's a team sport or something like that. So it's sort of like easier to also connect, I feel like, to the audience probably.
Yeah, absolutely. And Grant, I think you brought up something that's particularly interesting, which is the production quality. And I look at a lot of your guys' videos, and we're talking multiple angles. We're talking in-car documentaries, confessionals. You brought up some of the graphical elements about ball trackers and overlays and all this other stuff. I'm fascinated by that evolution for all of your creative journeys. Like, how much harder is it today to produce quality sports content versus maybe what it was when you first began?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, even 3 years ago, so much has changed. Like the entire landscape has changed because golf got really popular. All the professional athletes are starting to get into it. And I feel like now there's a lot of competition. So you're going to want to separate yourself. And people kind of, when they click on a video, I feel like they're expecting a certain level of production. And they want to see those graphics. They want to see the tracers. It's crazy. Just 3 years, how much it's changed. 3-4 years.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching some of your videos before this, and I mean, they look like I'm watching actual professionally done stuff that you would see typical of like the Golf Channel, the PGA Tour, things like that on traditional broadcast television. It's incredible.
Yeah, no, I just feel like it's crazy because, there's a lot going on in the golf world right now with, there's 2 different tours going on, and YouTube golf is in this like weird middle ground that I feel like I'm always talking about. It's kind of in between the PGA Tour, Live, and like I can go out there and put up really good content, and they kind of get their golf fix.
You mentioned kind of updating or kind of upgrading your game from a visual standpoint, but I'm also curious from a content standpoint. How has your individual content evolved?
Yeah, this is interesting. So I started, of course, making more of these YouTube vlogs in high school. And in high school wrestling, I was like awfully like pretty good. So it was always like highlight after highlight. Every video I was like doing well. But once we got to college, it was like a whole nother mountain. It was like these guys are so much better. And now it's not necessarily about like doing well or getting the highlights. And of course, that would be awesome. That would be ideal. It's my growth from the beginning of the season, let's say to the end. And by kind of elongating that whole journey of being like, let's see how far I can go, or let's see how much better I can get. What really have I learned? Because it's easy to just win and win and win, but to really go from one level all the way and document it, I think that's why people keep coming back.
Well, it's a human story, right? At the end of the day, it's a relatable story. Like, you're right, there's only going to be 1, 2, 3 people who like dominate everything, win everything, whatever. Like, that's a very lucky, very special like athlete right there. I think the reason why we as humans tune into videos like yours, or to, the sports movies in general, if you look at traditional media and broadcast media, a lot of those are the underdog stories and how they train and how they overcome that adversity. And yeah, a lot of times they're not necessarily winning at the end of the day, but the journey that they took was the reward in and of itself, because it shows the strength of us as individuals. And it's inspiring when I can look at your story and be like, oh, he's overcoming his challenges. I can find the strength in myself to overcome my own challenges.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself.
But I think it also applies to something that you mentioned earlier too, Peng, which is, it's not all trophies and medals and pretty leotards. There is the struggle to it. There's the falls, there's the getting back up again and being willing to try again and continually throwing yourself at that challenge until you have that moment of success and you're able to triumph.
Yeah, I think especially with my channel, it's gone through so many changes. I feel like it's been like a baby, a teenager, and like an adult. But when I was doing gymnastics, it was, again, all about gymnastics. It was all about the team. It was all about vlogging and taking everyone behind the scenes. But as soon as I retired, I can't flip anymore. Like, it's just physically impossible. And I've had so many injuries. And I think that's one of the things that I was known for, especially as a gymnast, was coming back after an injury. And I've always said this when I've talked to gymnasts, there's a life outside of gymnastics. And I think, especially when you're young, like, I was training 25 plus hours a week since I was 10. And I think it was so important for me to show my YouTube channel after I retired. There's so much more out there and there's so much more you can do. And so it's okay if I'm injured. It's okay if I can do other things and still stay motivated.
Absolutely. How about you, Emil? How has the table tennis scene kind of evolved over the years? Have there been certain eras of content in your channel's history?
Yeah, the interesting part is that it's some content that worked really well, let's say 5 years ago. You see that if you make the same kind of concept today, it basically probably won't work at all. A good example is trick shots. Some of our most viewed long-form videos are like completely like these trick shot type of videos where we do like 8 minutes or 5 minutes completely only trick shots, and they have 40 or 50 million views probably on our channel. But then again, if we make a complete trick shot video today, it won't perform well. So you have to all the time evolve your content, see what's trending either in the sports sector or some other sector, and then try to sort of like come up with a fun way to combine table tennis with that specific trend. It's a challenge, but then again, I'd say that's one of the best parts with YouTube and being a content creator, that only the imagination is the limit for what you can do. And you're only setting yourself setting the kind of the limit where you can take your content and your channel.
Yeah, so you're saying you've kind of moved beyond just like, hey, here's a compilation of a lot of like really impressive things, and you're moving into this era, again, it almost like what Caden was saying, this era of here is a challenge that I'm setting for myself, and by the end of the video, we'll have either completed it or not completed it, and you get to see my journey and my friend's journey as we kind of go forth and try to achieve this difficult task.
Exactly.
Right. Makes total sense. Alexis, what about you?
I've been doing YouTube for 9 years. YouTube is a very different place now than it was back then. Back then, you could sort of just hold the camera in front of your face and just kind of freestyle off the top of your head. But I think once I realized that I need to provide more value and to give people a reason to stay for 10 to 30 minutes or even more, I started to see more consistent growth. I think people come to YouTube, a combination of wanting to see, yes, people's real journey, but also they want to know how to do something. How do you begin running? They want information, and I think personality can get you a long way, but if you combine personality with sharing value with people, I think that's the winning formula.
Yeah, absolutely. Grant and Caden, both of you have done a fair number of videos that are kind of challenge collabs with other people and specifically other athletes in the space. Could you talk a little bit about any specific examples of videos that you've done in the past?
It's been really cool collabing with some of the best golfers in the world. And I feel like that's what's working almost the best, is getting to show a different side of these PGA Tour players or live players and kind of seeing them in an environment that they're not so serious and they're just getting to hang out. But I mean, also the coolest thing with golf is I can go film with, I was just with an F1 driver. I didn't really know much about F1 driving or any of that. And I was just with him filming. Then I'll go film with somebody else that's, a football player. So that's also a really cool side of golf, where it's like you can just hang out with them, play golf, interview them. But it doesn't matter what sport they're in.
I would say for challenges, it's really cool to let's say do challenges with the highest level of wrestlers. So one of my videos where I collab with Spencer Lee, he's now on the Olympic team. He's, hopefully going to do amazing there, take home gold for USA. And of course, I think, those are the videos that the audience loves to see, these guys that they're always seeing on TV or all these biggest tournaments winning everything. They want to see kind of like Grant was talking about, behind the scenes there.
Yeah. And I think that's an important point to call out, right? Is the style of videos that you're doing and the level of access that you're giving to both the sport and to a lot of the top athletes of those sports, it's not done by traditional media, right? If I turn on to broadcast television or look at traditional news or sports outlets, I'm not finding this kind of off the cuff, unscripted stuff that is just hanging out, enjoying a sport. You are providing your viewers, your subscribers, a level of authenticity for these people that they love watching or that they really respect in their sport. But now all of a sudden, by watching your content, I'm able to engage with them as humans and get a more well-rounded perspective of who they are, which is really exciting. Who is the audience for your channels? Are they other athletes who are looking for tips or points of inspiration or looking to engage with their favorite sport in a different way? Or are they, casual fans or viewers looking to be exposed to you or found you through, say, a trick shot or something, and we're like, whoa, I really like their content? What do you see the division in your audience like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a definitely vast majority is other wrestlers in high school and of course now in college. As I got more to, let's say, collabing with those, older wrestlers on the higher levels, Olympic scenes, more parents and older people, who aren't necessarily still wrestling, but past wrestlers, that's who a lot of my audience is as well. And it's definitely a lot in, the active wrestling community.
Alexis, what about you? Because I know running is so universal, right? Do you see a similar sort of mix of mostly runners coming to you, or do you think it is a little bit more of a casual viewer who's looking to be kind of inspired by you?
My audience is interesting because it's still a lot of people who are following me from the old days when I was a flight attendant, and they're just kind of curious about what I'm doing now. But for the most part, I think it's casual viewers wanting to be inspired. I've been getting a lot of messages about people looking for other Black runners on YouTube. I think it's a lot of people who are kind of like me, who maybe discovered themselves a little bit later in life and are trying to start a new hobby like running. And people are curious and they want to see the struggle and the challenges that I'm facing along the way. Yeah, I just think that's really entertaining.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So one thing that I know from watching other content on YouTube, right, is that a lot of times there's ripple effects of the video world on real life. And so I'm curious, in the sports world, have you seen a transition or an impact on your real life experiences or the sport itself from how YouTube videos have impacted things?
Personally, for me, I'll start off. Basically, there's I think it's the most popular video on my channel. It's top 5 pins. One of the last moves I showed, it's something called the surfboard, and basically, it's like no one was gonna hit this in a match, no way. And unbeknownst to me, it's like 5 years after posting it, I still get pictures and videos of people hitting this move. And it's like, how are you getting guys in this? I personally have never done that in a match. And for me to kind of see that, like, holy cow, like, this is something that actually worked and something that, you know, no coach is going to teach this. You're not going to go to, like, you know, a high level camp to learn this really good move, because it's probably not. I don't know how it works, but that's kind of one thing that I saw that's like, this is really like impacting.
That's awesome. How about you, Grant? What about in the game of golf?
Firsthand, I see pros starting their own YouTube channels, and I feel like they've seen the YouTube landscape, whether it's the PGA Tour or pros, and they're kind of taking bits and pieces from YouTube and utilizing it into those platforms. So yeah, I feel like that's the coolest part, is seeing a pro golfer start his own YouTube channel, just because of like they're seeing that, you know, a lot of views are happening on YouTube right now, and they're like, I want to get on board. You know, you're doing something right if that's happening.
So all of you should have received a package that we sent you. Do you all have it available right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Got it.
Well, if you could, please open those now. Okay, so everyone's opening up their packages.
Ooh,
Nice little red boxes that we sent to everyone. I'm seeing some cards with the YouTube logo on the front.
Like,
Got a medal. Look at that. That is so cool.
Oh, that's cute.
That's cool.
Aw.
Everyone gets their own little gold medal
That's
with the
winners.
YouTube logo.
We're all
you're all
winners.
gold medalists in our hearts.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Wait, I get one too? Yep. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh, I'm a Like and Describe gold medalist too.
Let's go.
There you go. That's
we're all winners.
Yay! There's only how many of these? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? 6 of these in existence now? Awesome. Well, guys, thank you once again for joining me. Peng, Grant, Caden, Emil, Alexis, it has been awesome having you on today. Good luck in your endeavors, and I can't wait to see what you have up next on YouTube.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think one of the things that's been so exciting about having all of these athletes here on today's episode is that it really showcases the drive that comes with being an athlete, right? They want to run an ultramarathon. They want to challenge the hardest golf courses in the world. But that lesson applies no matter what you do, whether you're an athlete, a creator, or just living your daily life, right? The other incredible thing about all of this, right, is that all of them started as amateur athletes, right? And through their journeys, through showing you the warts and all of their processes, not only are they inspiring the next generation of athletes, they're affecting the professional scene at this point, right? We heard about how professional athletes are starting their own YouTube channels. We heard about how wrestling training across the country is changing and evolving based on a top 5 list of best pins, right? One person with a passion can put themselves out there and have this ripple effect that changes whole professional industries. That's pretty darn awesome. Thanks for joining us for episode 7 of Like and Describe, YouTube's official trends podcast. I'm MatPat. You can find out more about Like and Describe at yt.be/likedescribe. That's yt.be/likedescribe. You can find links to all of the creators and videos that we referenced today in the episode's description. Like and Describe is produced by Joe Sabia, Greg Gordon, Emily Shaw, Sam Weiser, Grace Lawson, Ali Schwartz-Balbus, Jake Wright, Ernest Petty, and Maddie Buxton. Video editing by Karen Rivas. Graphics by Lewis Hamway. I'll see you next time.
Oh, no. That was good. That was good.